Okay, let's get started. All right, hello, ladies. Thank you so much for being here today. Um, before we get started, I'm gonna have everyone just go around and introduce themselves, and I'll start with myself. So, my name is Tolu, and I am Nigerian, and I'm also American, and I am a teacher. Okay, and keep it short, please. Louisa.
Hi, my name is Louisa. I am from Ghana and I am currently a medical student.
Uche.
Hi, my name is Dr. Uche Kuku. I am Nigerian American and I'm a psychologist.
Toby.
Hi, my name is Toby Kalajai. I'm Nigerian American and I will be starting law school this fall.
Bolu.
Hi, I'm Bolu Aluko. I am Nigerian and I'll be starting med school this fall.
Dupe.
Hi, my name is Dukwe. I am Nigerian American as well, and I'm and I'm a nurse. Currently in nurse practitioner school, if that makes sense.
Chizoba.
Hi, my name is Chizoba. I'm a Nigerian American as well, and I'm a nurse, aspiring physician.
Reese.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Reese, currently reside in Charlotte. I'm Nigerian American, and I am a HR professional.
Nice. All right. Thank you guys for that short introduction. So we're going to jump right into it. So the reason why we're kind of here today is the topic of today basically is sexual assault within the African diaspora. And just to kind of get started, we're going to define what sexual assault is. Does anyone want to define that for us?
I can take it. So sexual assault is any unwanted touch that is resulting in any type of distress. It doesn't matter if it was over the clothes, under the clothes, penetration, no penetration. But when we think about sexual assault, it's this unwanted touch that happened or occurred to someone.
Okay, thank you, Uche. The reason why I started with that question was because I feel like a lot of people feel like sexual assault is just about penetration, rape, things like that, sodomy, and it's not always the case. And it could just like Uche said, unwanted touch, a kiss, something that you did not ask for, basically. And one of the reason why I wanted to do this today was last week. I think it's about a week till today now, when one of our very own Louisa posted a story. She's in medical school, but she's also a brilliant writer, by the way. So she writes about people's stories and her stories as well. And one of the stories that kind of caught everyone's attention last week was about a story that she experienced with a really close friend of hers. They've known each other for a really long time, and it just happened that she went over to his house, and it wasn't. He offered her a drink. She refused a few times, and then he offered to show her something. And then after a while, he pinned her up against the wall and decided that he wanted to kiss her, and he did kiss her a couple times. She said no. She tried to talk him off, and the fact that she had to talk him off was just, she had to make sure, she had to calm him down when she was feeling distressed, so that she wouldn't be harmed in any way of shape or form. And I just wanted to kind of see, when you guys read that story, and if you haven't read the story, please check out Louisa's page. I'll probably drop it in the comment section and see if people want to go and read it. But how did you guys feel when you read that story? What kind of emotion did you feel did that evoke for you?
I think for me, and I was very angry. Obviously, I heard the story before she posted it, but I think one emotion that really resonated with me was anger and just the discomfort, because I think in her post, she actually said that her post was triggered by a situation that happened in DC with like some sexual assault allegations with another African or Nigerian guy within that community. And so for me, I was really angry because I feel like this story is a little bit, it's too common within the Nigerian and within the African community here. So.
Anyone else?
I think for me, it was more fear and anxiety, kind of like a mix of both, because there's a sense you feel at going to somebody that you call a friend, their place, and there's like a sense of safety you feel when you're entering a space where you believe that somebody's your friend and it doesn't turn out that way. So like you begin to question yourself, hey, did I do something wrong to create this situation for myself? What could I have done better? And then you also find that you find yourself in a situation where you'll always be guarded when you have to venture out into other friend situation that you might find yourself. So for me, it was a little bit of fear and anxiety at the same time.
Thank you for that. Toby, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I think like a word that I would use to describe is empathetic, because I feel like it's really like, unfortunately, like sexual harassment or even sexual assault is like really common amongst like females. So like everybody, I guess, like I would assume that everybody can recall a time where you were sexually harassed and like it was just uncalled for attention that you didn't want. And oftentimes like you, even like after reading that story, a lot of people will question it and be like, well, why did she go here? Well, what was she wearing? Well, what did she do? Like I can just like, it just like really resonates with me, and I can just imagine myself being in that same situation when people asking those kind of questions. And I was just really empathetic to it, because I feel like everybody can recall an experience or an instance where they got unwanted attention and they didn't consent to something that they wanted, whether it was like statements or like the advances that were moved towards them. Like you can just recall the time where you're in a similar situation.
Okay, yeah, that's definitely true. So this brings me to my next question, right? I know sexual assault is very, very rampant, like in Africa in general, and a lot of it is unreported. Like, and I looked online before this conversation, and I wanted to know what the stats were, and a lot of African countries didn't even have that. They didn't even have like stats on sexual assault. Things like that don't get reported. And there are a lot of reasons why they don't get reported. My question is, we come here, we come abroad because we feel like, okay, the system is at least a little bit better than what our parents were used to or what we grew up in Africa, and what, and now a lot of the sexual assault happening within the African community here is still getting underreported. Why do we think that's the case?
I mean, I feel like, period, just being a Black woman, period. Like, not even just Africans, not even Africans here, and we're supposed to be like in this better safety net or whatnot. Like, Black women, period, in America, sexual assault within our community is very well underreported. And then to like within our African community, where a lot of these things are quote unquote normalized, where our parents and like friends and family member are like normalize this whole act of men just behaving however way they want to. And it's like, well, that's what man would do. And it's, it's kind of sort of ingrained within us, where we're like, okay, maybe, or maybe me, I shouldn't have done this, or maybe I shouldn't have done this either, maybe I shouldn't have gone there or did that, or maybe I should have seen the sign, where we end up like blaming ourselves and trying to rationale their behavior just so we don't. Also, a part of it too is we don't want to be victims either. So we sort of kind of like, well, maybe or not, and then we just kind of forget about it and move on. I feel like within this like recent years where we're seeing this type of different movements, and you're sitting back and you're thinking about it like, this is some like dumb crap that just happened to me, then you kind of realize it. But prior to that, like, just go sit down and talk to your mother, like, this man did this to me. Your parents are telling you, oh, that's what men do, or that's their behaviors and things like that. And you just kind of
I
like
think that's so
about
harmful.
Absolutely.
It is.
I
But I mean, obviously, there's so many factors to it, but that's one factor that I think has contributed to a lot of like underreporting, people not really voicing this thing. No one wants to be a rape victim, so you don't talk about it. There's just not a lot of comfortable like situations where people just make you feel like, come to me, let's talk about this. It's more like, well, this happened to you, hide it. What did you do to actually evoke this situation that happened to yourself?
Yeah, I think that I was just gonna say, I think like there's so many reasons why like sexual assault and child sexual abuse, if we even go there, is very underreported because one, there's the greater likelihood that it happened by somebody that you know. So when it happens by someone you know, that already complicates the situation because you have all these mixed feelings, right? So it's like, well, I was supposed to be able to trust this person. Then they did this thing here, and like, how many people are going to actually believe me? Because we can see in the media, we can see in friendships and other places that people don't believe women, right? So if a woman says like, oh, I was sexually assaulted, or he did something else, we actually start to question like, oh, was it really assault though? Like, how far did he go? What did he do? So then now, not only do I have to qualify my experience, I have to believe my experience too. So it's like, and when I'm thinking in that type of mind frame, like, no, I don't want to tell anybody. No, I don't want to report. And then we know that when it is reported, that it's not treated well, right? So like, then you decide I'm going to go to law enforcement, and that's a whole joke in itself too. So it's like, now I'm exposing myself like to the law, which then exposing myself to other people knowing. And I think it's because sexual abuse and sexual assault continues because of like secrecy. It's because it's such a shameful act, but it's not the correct people carrying the shame. It's the person where it happened to is carrying the shame, whereas the abuser should be carrying the shame. And then when that happens, you say, let me just be quiet. I don't want to tell anybody. So I feel like it's so many different layers about like, even for yourself of knowing. I think like back to college, there are so many experiences that when I got out of college, I was like, that was not okay, right? But I didn't have the education. I didn't have the thought to think like, oh, that's wrong. I just thought that's what dudes do. He just trying to dance with you, like, just get over it, right? And then you're like, actually, I didn't want you to touch me. So I feel like that education part is a huge piece of it too.
So I was going to jump off of what Dupe has said. So like, I think for us, most especially in like in the African community, it's our culture based off of our parents, how they were raised. Oh, don't talk about it. It's a taboo. You can't say anything about it. Do you want people to look at us differently? Do you know what people will say? So for a lot of us, like growing up, that's kind of like the mentality that we have because our parents have actually like told us, oh, don't say that kind of thing. You know what I mean? And then you move to a whole different culture where you actually have to be able to voice your traumas, to be able to survive and grow as a healthy person. You have to be able to speak, even if you're not singing it out to the whole world, but you have to be able to vocalize it to yourself to be able to even find a semblance of healing. You know what I mean? So for a lot of us, it's actually hard. Even with what Louisa shared, like, it probably took her a while to get to the point where she could actually actively share those things with people, to be able to like find healing within herself, to be able to share it for people. That there's so many women, you know, that not to say that it's just women that's happening to, it's also men to a level. You know what I mean? There's so many of us that these things are happening to, and nobody has room to even like say anything about it. And even in the fact of saying things, there are people that lie within those little pockets, and their lies are found out. It makes it harder for people that are actually honest about their situations to be able to express it. for them to be able to actually find justice for the things that have happened to them. So I think like when speaking in general about sexual assault, there's a lot of like loopholes and potholes that come into play with even addressing it or finding room to address.